Those are the three things. With that said, this is an opportunity to talk about Everhome again. Experience the Everhome way and discover the benefits risk-free. Visit everhome.io. Explore the easy-to-use listing service for a one low set fee that will save you thousands on your next transaction. That's Everhome for every home. Moving forward, our second half, David. All right, it's certified. We have a president-elect. All right, I'm using that word so I don't get Republicans mad at me. He's still president-elect. He's your next president. Let's all just take it in. Let's all just take it in, okay?
Even the current president has acknowledged now.
I thought that, who was it on the floor who did the enough's enough? He's elected. I don't like Joe Biden, but he's our next president.
Right.
That was the greatest speech ever. We just need to stop this. Yeah, I agree. Let's just stop. So Biden's coming in. House and Congress and all those people and all their lobbyists are going to do whatever they're going to do about the next three things. I'm sure this is a callback joke, David, to 2010. I'm sure there is an Arrowhead manufacturer in Puerto Rico that will probably get stimulated by whatever they approve. And for those of you who don't know, when they did the 2010 stimulus package for that crash, there was an Arrowhead manufacturer in Puerto Rico that received $3 million. Don't know why to this day, no one's ever explained it. It was in the bill. So I'm sure there's going to be plenty of that, and all of you can argue that until your head explodes.
Yeah, that's the stuff I hate.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So we've got Biden coming in. Affirmatively furthering fair housing. Okay, during his campaign, he promised that he was bringing back the AFFH, my dyslexia, and allocating $640 billion to this program to make an affordable housing project, right? This is the key to it. Does this stimulate, for what you know, are they stimulating FHA? Are they stimulating VA? Or are they just bringing people who don't normally have home ownership and bringing them up to an opportunity? I would imagine it'd have to be done through FHA. What do you know about AFFH? Wow, it is a tongue twister. Affirmatively further fair housing. There you go.
Yeah, I think that this, this is, listen, the government doesn't run programs like this very well, right? It's much better off to be, and that money given in grants to community organizations who make sure it gets to the people to administer and get it to the people who really understand what's going on in their market. So I don't know if these are rent vouchers or they're is it Section 8, landlords, like it to get qualified, but there's all kinds of regulations around, taking the government's money. I think the first-time homebuyer tax credit is going to be really positive. If they're using this money to build, communities, to build homes for low to middle income people, I think that's really terrific. But without knowing exactly how they're going to allocate the money, it's a lot of money. You'd think it would move the needle. And so, if I'm not sure about anything, I'm sure that we definitely have a housing shortage, and in order for us to make housing more affordable, we've got to dramatically increase supply. And you can't just increase supply at the high end of the market because it's more profitable for builders to be able to do it. So somebody somewhere has got to provide the money and the incentives in order to make it easier for people to afford houses. Thinking about in my market that a first-time home buyer is facing a $600,000 or $700,000 average price. I remember, buying my first house for $150,000 and wondered how I was ever going to pay for that house. There was no way I could pay for it. And, of course I did, and I figured it out, but I'm telling you, it's to think, and even when I moved from Florida to California, and I was making a very handsome living, when I made that transition, the idea of spending, $500,000 to buy a house gave me cold sweats,
Sure.
and I could afford it. But I just didn't, I was going to a much smaller house in a community that wasn't as nice as where I lived in Florida. And I was going to pay more than twice the money to do it. It's obscene.
I get it totally. I look at it from a historical perspective of there will always be things like this. I mean, I remember in the 2000s, early 2000s, for those of you who don't go that far back in the real estate market, 12 to 15% loans for firsts, and you were happy to get it. You were happy to get loans in those rates. Look where we are now. The constant stimulation of using, I've said this, let's just hypothetically say that any of you win the lottery tonight. I'm going to win it, and I'm going to be $700 million richer. But I talked to somebody who's extremely rich in that range, and I said, what do you do with money like that? You don't have a choice. You have to buy real estate. There's nothing secure enough to want to dump that kind of money. And the reality is there just isn't any real estate out there, which is driving the prices up. As a commodity right now, I can see trying to get everybody into it and trying to still make it affordable for everybody. It is still the best investment on the planet from my perspective. How do you see real estate as a commodity, which is the way it's been treated since 2010?
Well, I personally like it. I think it's a lot more predictable than the stock market.
Sure.
I think it requires, where the stock market can shift on a headline, and you can lose 30%, and then, that was a fake headline, or it didn't, it meant something else or whatever, and then it bounced back 20%. And which is fine unless you sold because you panicked that it was going down, right? And you just, I've lost so much money in the stock market over the years trying to figure it out, trying, different strategies. And I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've never lost real money in real estate. I mean, I've made some mistakes and I just made less in the end. But so I maybe it's because I know real estate better, maybe because I'm more confident, but I think the reason I like real estate is it's a lot slower and it's a lot more predictable and it's a lot more stable. Yes, it's less liquid, okay, but that's what gives it the other attributes that I like about it. And so, and I think that if you looked at a 10-year window of how real estate is done over the years, I think that you're a winner any 10-year period you pick in recorded history. So from that perspective, I like it very much.
Yeah, if you had told me 2 years ago, if I had a choice between real estate and say Disney, which is the most consistent grower and stable platform out there in the stock market, which I've historically liked from a stock perspective, and you said, you got to pick one, I would have said Disney. I mean, the housing prices can't keep going up. They're probably going to come down. And here we are, 18 months, 2 years later, and didn't see this coming.
Well, I'll tell you, real estate works for a lot of reasons. First of all, the number one reason to own real estate is shelter and security, right?
Yep.
That's the number one reason. So, to that extent, value doesn't really matter. It's how much house can I get for a monthly payment? For most people, there are sophisticated people out there that, take it to another level, but for most people, they just want to know how much house can I get for my money? And so they start by going to the bank, and the bank says, well, if you got this much money down and you make this much a month, you can buy a $600,000 house. And then you go out and look for the best $600,000 house you can find. Okay. And then you buy it. And if you're planning to be there, if you're buying it because you're planning to be there and raise a family, and there are unexpected things like job changes that could cause your plan to change. But if you're really planning to be there, it's a really good, safe investment because you're not really worried about the value of the asset. Yes, you want it to go up, but if it goes down, so what? You still need a place to live and you love your house. From an investment perspective, it's a little different. But what what I like about it is that we still need houses. And as long as you know that there's a shortage of inventory, you can reasonably predict that the market is going to go up. Now, maybe it's going to go up slightly, maybe it's going to go up a lot. And I think that what we're seeing, I mean, when we had COVID and the stock market crashed by 30, 40%, when it started to get real, yes, it rebounded within 45, 60 days, almost to where it was, and now is already at all-time highs again. But real estate really just took off, and everybody thought real estate was going to go down. But at the end of the day, people still need to live in a house. They don't need to own stocks. They need to live somewhere. They need the safety and security of having a place that they can call. It became more important than ever, having a place of your own that nobody had any control over besides you.
David, can
Sure.
you explain to me what a tax credit is? Let's say that I'm a first-time home buyer and you say to me, well, the president's going to give you a $15,000 first-time home buyer tax credit. And I'm sure there's real estate professionals that are probably too shy saying, I know all about this. Can you explain to me what a tax credit does? And why I should be excited about it?
Yeah, so there's tax deductions and there's tax credits, right? So a tax deduction, the way a tax deduction would work is if I make $100,000 and and then I take off all my expenses. So if my only deduction was the tax deduction, if I make 100, I take $15,000 off the top because that's my deduction. I pay taxes on $85,000. Okay. So if I owe 20% in taxes, I pay 20% of $85,000. What a tax credit is I get taxed at $100,000. And so that means if it's a 20% credit, I owe $20,000 in taxes. And then I apply the credit, which removes $15,000. So now I only owe $5,000. So a tax credit is actually deducted from the amount that you owe, okay, and taxes, and a tax deduction is taken off your income before applying your tax rate. So it's a big, big difference.
There you go. Which takes us to our last topic on the president's new plan. It means he gets a new HUD director. We leave the skillful hands of Dr. Ben Carson. Don't know what he did. I'm sure he did something. I didn't do a lot of.
You have
Ben
a list
Carson
of accomplishments because we haven't heard much from Dr. Ben.
I'm not even sure Ben knew that he was the director of HUD. We now bring in Congresswoman.
I don't think he knew that there's a T in mortgage.
Yeah, probably. Congresswoman Marcia Fudge comes in, and here we go back to what we started with, right? She is into voter protection, equitable access to quality education and food programs and food stamps and locally grown foods and health foods, a lot of food in her background. Fair labor practice, civil rights, among the many issues she's backed. This would lead me to believe that HUD is going to try to focus this money we talked about earlier on trying to, I'm going to use a politically correct term, economically disenfranchised individuals, the ability to be a part of home ownership. I would think that's going to be her focus. However, we have not seen that out of the previous 4 years of HUD. Does HUD have, well, let's start there. Does HUD have any stroke?
Well, I don't know. HUD is they really administer programs, right? I don't know how much, I think this is why, we're picking on Ben there for a second, but the reality is I'm not sure how much influence they really have. I mean, in this case, the money gets allocated to them and their job is to make sure that those programs really get applied. And in this case, I think that there's a big push, and this is, coming from, the riots that we had over the summer and, going back to George Floyd and all of that stuff, that really got people upset, and the Black Lives Matter movement came up, and I think people maybe for the first time really started to see the disparity between the classes. And I think the people noted that the classes that were doing better were white and not of color. And it really started to draw, attention. And you can argue why that is, or or how that happened and whatever. And there are a gazillion theories out there, but I think that the optics are really good in order to try to give these lower, what they're calling disadvantaged people of color, the opportunity in order to own homes for the first time. Now, I happen to think that the best way to do that is not to give them a house. When I say them, I need people in general, to give people houses, and to really create job training and job opportunities and income growth and those kind of things that lead to productive economic lifestyles, economically driven lifestyles. And I think that in general, I think the whole world feels that way, is that you don't want to just, it goes back to you. Do you want to give people a fish, or you want to teach them how to fish? What's the thing that you do? And I don't know what the right thing. Listen, people need help. I'm all for it. If people, but what I don't like, even with my kids, the one thing that I hate more than anything is entitlement. When my kids think that I should do something because I owe it to them, that I have some sort of obligation, nothing makes me crazier than that. And I feel that about my employees, and I feel about that, my job is to create opportunity, not to give hand. Just because I have a few dollars doesn't mean you do, son, kind of thing. And so the bottom, I worked hard for mine, and I want you to work hard too, and I'll help you, but you're going to have to do the heavy lifting. And I think that's true here. And I don't know what's better, giving people tax credits and helping them buy houses, which I'm all for, actually, or giving them job training and access to jobs that allow them to feel like they accomplished it, on their own. Maybe there's a combination of both. I don't know. And maybe that's what they're talking about doing. I hope so. But I'd like people, of any color that wants to work hard and take advantage of the opportunity that America represents for them, to take advantage of all that. I mean, if the truth is, if you want to go to school, you can go to school for free. There are, right now, people who don't have money to go to school. There is no, the idea I don't have money to go to school is BS. There are 1,000 grants for people who want to be able, to go to school. So I don't know. I'm all for it. I'd love people to be homeowners, and this is the old debate. How do you do it? Do you give it to them, or do you help them get it?
Yes, the do something mentality, which is, I completely agree. And it looks like, and maybe you can correct me on this, the housing won't be the focus of the HUD director. It'll be the urban development side. It looks like they're going to work more on social programs and don't look to HUD for any massive housing changes. While it might happen, it looks like by electing, with the election of Joe Biden, urban development seems to be the bigger push for the HUD.
I think that there's going to be a lot of attention to this wealth gap that you're seeing between the middle class and the low class. And I think that's terrific. All right. And so, but how you do it is really where the debate is going to start. I don't think anybody doesn't think that there are some things that we can do as a country to help disadvantaged people. And I don't think, and I think there's very few people that don't want to. Where the debate takes place is how do you use that money? It goes back to the efficiency. Is the government the right people to do it, or are individual community-based organizations the right way to do it? Is it credits? Is it jobs? Is it housing? I don't know.
I agree. One last time, check out Everhome. That's everhome.io. It's Everhome for all of your needs in regards to real estate. If you are a real estate agent, find out about their opportunities in the Southern California area. If you, throughout the United States, they are, in the words of the Joker, aggressively expanding.
Well, not so. We're focused on California right now. We do need licensed agents. We have more leads than we can work ourselves. So licensed agents in Southern California, particularly LA and Ventura County, we would welcome a call from you.
There you go. And for the rest of you that are consumers, find out about Everhome's low set fee. Check out everhome.io. Thanks, David. It was a good show. We covered a lot. We did a lot. We saw a lot. We know more.
Did we solve any problem? We didn't solve any of the world's problems.
We did not serve world crisis.
We just
and I'm still convinced that
stirred the pot a little bit, maybe.
Maybe. I still think the biggest concern after last week saying the only thing that would stop this is a civil war, and we came close. And
yeah, I forgot all about that. That's hysterical, actually.
It's going to be an airdrop somewhere. I'm going to have a soundboard at some point where I can do an airdrop of crazy things that we said in passing, and that came to pass. Yeah. It didn't have an effect on real estate. Everybody check out David online on social media at David Bartels. Check out Everhome on social media. It's EVERHOMEIO. And I'm at Lee Honish, HONISH. Check us all out. Follow us. Send us an email. You can find us on all the platforms. We appreciate you each and every week. Click the subscribe, click the share, watch the video, be involved. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Everybody, take care.